about it, because I've always wondered how that went down.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Good morning. If we could all find our seats, I'd like to call the meeting to order. All right, good morning. Well, good morning and welcome to the Board of County Commissioners meeting for April 18th, 2023. The time is 9:31 and I'll call the meeting to order. Let's begin this morning with our invocation. Alberta Johnson from the Universalist Unitarian Church of Fort Myers. If you could please join us at the podium this morning for our invocation, and would everyone please rise. Is Alberta Johnson here with us this morning? Alberta? Okay, maybe she got caught in traffic. Well, board members, if you don't mind, yeah, I'll say the prayer if we could all bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this amazing day. God, thank you for the rain you brought us yesterday. It's been very dry around here, and we just thank you for that. We thank you for all the things you provided for us. There are blessings everywhere throughout this county, and we're just so grateful for them. Thank you, God, for the work that's been done to recover from Hurricane Ian and the devastation it brought. And God, I just pray you'll continue to bless our community as we recover from that. I pray this morning for my colleagues and myself that you would give us wisdom and discernment to make good decisions on behalf of the people that you called us to serve. Father, I also thank you for all the employees who will celebrate this morning for their service and their time that they've given to Lee County. And I just pray all these things in your Son's holy name. Amen. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. This morning we have a couple ceremonial presentations before we get to our first quarter length of service awards. And so at this time I'd like to recognize Commissioner Ruane for Tri-Transit Day.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is anyone here from Tri-Transit?
There's Director Cody. Right by the podium.
All right. Now I'm feeling much better. Wonderful. Thank you very much. The resolution reads as follows. Whereas the state of Florida is dedicated to improve air quality, reducing traffic congestion, promoting health and physical fitness, and reducing energy consumption. And whereas the Florida Department of Transportation, District 1, through its commuter service program, contributes to these state goals by reducing traffic congestion and lowering greenhouse gas emissions throughout the region by promoting the use of alternative commute modes. And whereas Lee County Government and Lee County Transit, Lee-Tran, are promoting Tri-Transit Day on April 22nd to raise awareness for our attractions, destinations, and transportation routes in Lee County. Whereas Lee-Tran will offer free rides to Tri-Transit Day on April 22nd on all Lee-Tran fixed routes to encourage residents and visitors to give public transit a try. Now, therefore, be resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Lee County, Florida proclaims April 22nd, 2023 as Regional Tri-Transit Day in Lee County and encourage residents to visit to give public transit a try. It's duly executed by our Chairman, Brian Hammond.
Happy Tri-Transit Day. That's awesome.
Want for a picture?
All right, let's line everybody up for a picture. Want to hand Mr. Cody?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I was waiting for him to come on up. Thank you. Thank you.
We can have a spokesperson, maybe Director Cody, share a few words.
Good morning. Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, county administration, for supporting Tri-Transit Day. Tri-Transit Day is very important to what we do in transit. Last year on Tri-Transit Day, we doubled our ridership in one day. We went from an average of about 3,500 passengers per day to about 7,500 passengers on that particular day. So this day is the gateway into our non-seasonal services to get our community, our stakeholders, and our residents to come out and try transit. So we thank you all for involving yourself in transit and making transit what it is today. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ruane, thank you for that presentation. Commissioner Pendergrass, I'd like to recognize you for Letter Carriers Stamp Out Hunger Day.
Great, thank you, Chairman. If I could have Stuart Hanna come up, and also anybody here from Heritage and Food Bank, or any of the postal carriers here along with you. Bring any postal carriers with you. You could just go to the podium right there, sir. Read the resolution in the record here. I'd like to celebrate and recognize what your group's doing this year. So whereas since May 15, 1993, the second Saturday in May has been reserved as the National Association of Letter Carriers Stamp Out Hunger Drive, food drive. The country's largest single-day food drive, providing residents with an easy way to donate food to those in need in the community. Whereas all food collected will stay local, with the Harry Chapin Food Bank being the largest beneficiary of food in Lee County. And whereas letter carriers are requesting that customers leave non-perishable foods such as canned soups, vegetables, canned meats, fish, pasta, peanut butter, rice, cereal next to the mailboxes anytime before the regular mail delivery on Saturday, May 13, 2023. Now, whereas the food donations are collected at local post offices and hundreds of volunteers, where it is stored, packed, and distributed to partner agencies which feed people in need. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Board of County Commissioners, Lee County, Florida, does hereby proclaim Saturday, May 13th of 2023 as Letter Carriers Stamp Out Hunger Day in Lee County, and urges citizens to kindly support our local letter carriers and their food drive to help fight and end hunger in Lee County. Duly executed the 18th day in April 2023 by our Chairman, Brian Hammond. So thank you again for everything you did.
Congratulations. Wow, thank you guys for all you do at Harry Chapin.
Thank you. Tell the letter carriers thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yes, good. Turn right around.
Oh, yeah, sure, go ahead. You can come on out. Oh, excellent, yeah.
Thank you. Sir, if you'd like to say a few words to the podium, feel free to.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, commissioners and county administrators, for your support of the Letter Carrier Food Drive, our Stamp Out Hunger. This food drive is the largest national food drive across the country every single year. Coming out of the pandemic and the hurricane and all of the economic crisis that we've had, food drives are more crucial than ever. Harry Chapin Food Bank is the largest domestic hunger relief organization in Southwest Florida, and this food goes directly to those who are most in need. 1 in 9 adults go to bed hungry, and even sadder, 1 in 6 children don't know where their next meal is coming from. So especially in this challenging time, with all of the global crisis, the health crisis, the continued economic crisis, the food that is donated today and in this carrier food drive is not just life-changing and life-transforming. In many cases, it's life-saving. Harry Chapin Food Bank has been around for 40 years, in the good days and the bad days, and these types of campaigns and your support is crucial to helping feed our neighbors in need in Southwest Florida. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, and thank you, Commissioner Pendergrass. Thank you very much, Commissioner Pendergrass, for that presentation. Commissioners, at this time, I'd like to invite all of us to come down in front here for the Length of Service Awards, and I'd like to recognize our county manager for that. First quarter Length of Service Awards.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is probably my most favorite special presentation that we do all month long. There is nothing more important and no people more important than the employees who actually dedicate themselves to public service, and we are proud to present them with their Length of Service Awards today.
Good morning, Commissioners. Victoria Abus from your Lee County Human Resources Department. My colleague Kristen Bristol joins me this morning along with County Manager DeJarlais. We are here to present the Length of Service Award to all eligible employees for the first quarter of 2023. These awards represent collectively 945 years of service to Lee County government. For those employees that are present this morning, as I call out your name, please step forward to receive your coin from the county manager and to greet the commissioners, deputy county manager, and assistant county managers. We'll then ask that everyone remain off to the side in order to take a group photo at the end of our presentation. As I start calling each group by years of service, I ask for everyone in that group to congregate in the back. We'll go ahead and get started now with those employees that have 5 years of service. All right. So up first, we have Alexa Serdan from Parks and Recreation. Charlotte Cody from the County Commissioner's Office. Christy Elridge with DCD. Thank you. Tony Fritzo with Transit. Stephen Johnson, Utilities. David Massey, Public Safety. Charles McCaw, DOT Operations. Jack Ott, DOT Operations. Douglas Pachurik, Fleet Management. Mary Robertson Clark, DCD. Lauren Schaefer, County Attorney's Office. Amanda Swindle, County Attorney's Office. Jennifer Walla, Visitor and Convention Bureau. Roger Warren, DCD. David Warthen, Natural Resources. Rochelle Wilcuts, Public Safety. We'll ask now that those individuals receiving tenure awards please stand and move to the back. Courtney DeRoges, Animal Services. Jennifer Harden, DCD. Olga Flores, Library. Yesenia Machuca, Human and Veteran Services. Daryl Smith, Transit. Andrew Schwartz, Facilities, Construction and Management. George Tipton, Facilities, Construction and Management. Ernest Outlaw, Solid Waste. We'll now ask that those employees with 15 years of service please stand and move to the back. Peter Borges, Transit. Casey Hagan, Facilities, Construction and Management. Matthew Hardy, Library. William Hull, Utilities. Carrie Schroeder, Library. We'll ask that those employees with 20 years of service now stand and move towards the back. Larry Bloomfield, Utilities. Rose Dunn, Library. Thomas Feld, Facilities, Construction and Management. Jill Horam, Library. Jeff Milkey, Sports Development. Kevin Honorevoli, Public Safety. James Welton, Transit. Our last length of service award for this morning with 30 years of service is the Director of the Visitor and Convention Bureau, Tam Pygott. So that concludes our award presentation this morning. Congratulations to all of the employees, and thank you for your service to Lee County. We'll ask that everyone come to the front, and we'll have a group picture, and then we'll be dismissed for length of service. Good.
Yeah, me too. When you think about it, some folks put 30 years worth of time into this. That's amazing. Laura! Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully they pay that forward.
Look up top, yeah. Some people from that side to that side.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, guys.
So they want to sell their property. Attorney represents the seller, wants to sell it, but buyers want a letter of commitment for utilities, and the city can give them. He can water, give them. It's not me.
I want to go riding on the swamp buggy someday. Yeah. That looks like a fun.
They don't have all those projects you've seen on 82 and all those projects they broke ground.
Yeah. You got to ride on the swamp buggy? Yeah, that's cool.
And of course, it was straight on. He's like, you only need 100-acre distribution center.
It's going to give everybody a chance to file out.
Single family home is $20,000 a month. They don't need. What if you need it? What do you need 12-inch main for? Interesting. But they don't have water.
Busy over there today. I heard that was a major problem.
Oh, if you live in the city right now, you're paying the highest fee, and you couldn't take a shower at Tracy flush your toilet at the same time.
Just mismanaged.
Yeah.
Is that farmer's market coffee?
There.
Recognize that cup.
Yeah. Traffic wasn't that bad when I had time to stop. So.
Did you really?
Yeah, I got in 39 minutes instead of an hour. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Then when I got here, somebody's parked my spot. So either way.
Oh, we got him out of there.
Oh, you bake? Oh, you bacon. I didn't get bacon. I got cheese grits today. 4 cup of cheese grits. That was my breakfast.
They have the best.
I need to go back in the carbs thing though.
Yeah.
So I can look like him again, lose weight.
Low carb thing again. Yeah. All right. Looks like we just about have everybody.
Unbelievable.
I didn't really change much of nothing.
All right. Thank you so much. And Mr. County Manager, thank you for that presentation. Always amazing to meet the team that we have here at Lee County. And I got to tell you, you're so proud when you see how much time these folks have dedicated to serving the residents of Lee County, and just really grateful for their time and their service and their work.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We are enormously proud to be able to work with all these folks.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. At this time, we'll look at the recap. There is no motion necessary for anything that's noted on the recap. So at this time, we'll move to the consent agenda. Commissioner Greenwald, do you have any items that you'd like to pull for discussion?
I do not, Chairman.
Commissioner Pendergrass?
None.
I have none. Commissioner Sandelli? Commissioner Ruane?
I have none.
Okay, so nothing has been pulled off the consent agenda for discussion. At this time, we'll take public comment on the consent agenda. I have one card from William Joe Schottmiller on item number 12. So, Mr. Schottmiller, if you'd come to the podium. You don't have to touch the microphone when you get up there. Just share your comments. Absolutely.
Good morning. As always, you know, I want to see
Ben, can you
people's...
start the timer real quick? Sorry, Mr. Schottmiller. There you go.
Okay.
All right, thank you, sir. Go ahead.
As always, I want to see people's lives better, and we have a lot of people that are disabled or homeless or very low income. And the housing market is very, very high for a lot of people, okay? The lowest Healy's at build efficiencies and that in the $500–600 range is affordable even to, it might be rough, but even to the people on limited income, let's say elderly people getting $800 or so a month. There's all kinds of property that is located in the county. I don't know who owns it all, but if the county owns it, make a deal to purchase it on time, you know? I noticed a piece of property that would be an excellent piece of property to develop something like that, but also would be a betterment because you have a technical school right across the street. So putting some kind of units that people going to that school and getting off the streets and in recovery or whatever, and that is between Markland and Del Vato or whatever the street is. It's there's a little bus stop right in front of it. There's a little tiny house that is pretty run down, but it could be rehabbed and then used as an office or something and built something on those properties that would benefit. So there's stuff out there. It's just asking you, county, for the seed money to eventually be paid back as we can, you know? So there are solutions out there. So a true continuum of care is everybody working together, the nonprofits and county, city, state, whatever. So I thank you for your time, and I have people to help. I help out at the pantries. Thank God for heavy shaping. I'll be unloading a truck tomorrow from them, from the pantry. So you all have a good day, and God bless.
Thank you for your comments. All right, at this time, I have no other cards turned in on the consent agenda. The consent agenda would have items, 1 through 28 on there. Has anybody else come to speak on items 1 through 28 on the agenda then? Okay, I see no hands. So at this time, commissioners, I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll move the item.
Motion from Commissioner Ruane, and the second was from Commissioner Pendergrass. Do we have any discussion on that? Are there any objections? No objections. That motion carries unanimously. At this time, we will convene as the Board of Port Commissioners. So I'd like to announce that we are now convened as the Board of Lee County Port Authority Commissioners, and I'd like to recognize our county attorney, or our port attorney, Mr. Wesh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, good morning. I have the pleasure of presenting to you for your consideration with management's recommendation of approval the collective bargaining agreement between yourselves and the Fraternal Order of Police, which is the recognized labor union for the Airport Police Department. Commissioners, this is a 2.5-year agreement. The wage provisions, which I know you're all interested in, are such that they will match whatever the board grants to the non-union employees on an annual basis at the airport. If the officers are not satisfied with that, they have the ability to request to reopen the wage provision. That is the only reopener language in this contract. All other terms and conditions are on par with the benefits that you afford your non-unionized employees at the airport. Commissioners, I would commend to you that the union members, your employees, ratified this contract by a 28-4 vote, which I believe signifies their acceptance of not only the terms and conditions, but the acknowledgement that I think there's a new day in labor relations out at the airport, certainly between your management team, Ben Siegel and his folks, that set the tone for this negotiation. We were able to bring this contract to conclusion in a total of 2 bargaining sessions, which is usually unheard of, certainly with a new union, as the Fraternal Order of Police were. And to that extent, I'd like to thank Ben and his management team, as well as the union members, your employees, our police officers that served in leadership roles on behalf of their fellow employees to make this contract happen. We're available for any questions. Your port director is here in the audience if you have any questions for him. If not, we would respectfully request approval.
Okay. Commissioners, do we have any questions at all about this item? Okay, I see no questions. At this time, has anyone come to speak in public comment on the Port Authority item? All right, Marcia Ellis. Now, this is just specifically about this contract.
Oh, so I haven't actually read the contract. I just had some questions about the scope of the contract.
Yeah, as long as it's on the topic that we're going to vote on and not just general Port Authority stuff, right? That's fine.
Labor contract with the police.
It's the labor contract with the Fraternal Order of Police.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I apologize for not being fully versed about this particular contract. I have been following the Port Authority in regards to the structure of the organization, as well as the concerns of the police chief regarding the process of him losing his job, potentially that not coming before the opportunity for public hearing and written notice. And I'm unsure whether or not the contract that was brought forth by the Fraternal Order of Police addressed that particular issue, the protection that might be given to the leader of the organization regarding having opportunity for a public hearing or notice if that contract would be terminated, as well as understanding a little bit better the power, how the Port Authority is organized in terms of the supervisory role of the administrator over the Port Authority in regard to the the chief of police of the Port Authority itself. And I didn't know if this particular contract also included an opportunity for the Fraternal Order of Police to weigh in terms of a national search for their supervisor of the chief of police, if that was also part of the bargaining, this bargaining contract. And I thank you for the opportunity just to bring those items forward and weigh in on in terms of the public as someone who would like to be involved in terms of a public hearing for the leader of the Port Authority officers, and thank you for your time.
Okay. Any further comments on this item, the Port Authority contract?
Mr. Chairman, could I just have the attorney go back on record, because it seemed like we went way in left field.
Yeah, sometimes it's easier to just get through the 3 minutes, even though it's a little off topic, than it is to, have to have a conflict. So,
Chairman,
yeah.
your discretion.
Mr. County Attorney, you're welcome to reference it.
Commissioners, Port Authority members, the Office of Police Chief is not within the bargaining unit of this collective bargaining agreement. While it is true that there is a current investigation underway, I can assure you that all procedural and substantive due process rights that the employee is owed under federal and state law will be observed throughout this process. No decision has been made, and therefore any discussion about a search is absolutely premature and irrelevant today.
Chairman, I'll move the item.
Yeah, motion for approval from Commissioner Pendergrass. Do we have a second?
I'll second it. And
Seconds from
just
Commissioner
a
Duane.
question, just for the record, for clarity, for the county attorney. This passed, the vote was, when we ratified this contract, it was
28-4.
28-4, 28 in favor, 4 against.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted that for the record.
Thank you. Yeah. All right, any further questions or discussion on that item? All right, are there any objections to the motion on the floor? I see none. That motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Port Attorney. At this time, we will now reconvene as the Board of Lee County Commissioners. And sitting as the Board of Lee County Commissioners, I would like to recognize our county manager to take up administrative agenda item number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This item was discussed during your last board meeting, and with instructions to come back today for further conversation and hopefully approval. So we're asking you today to approve a short-term civic center complex operating plan. And I'd like to start by just saying thank you to the Fair Board for the partnership for all these years, for making available and supporting, the 4-H, the Lee County Fair, which is an iconic event in this community, and then hosting other community organizations at the same time. Today, I don't think our conversation is about the past, about what should have or maybe should not have happened, but I think it's really about most people believe that this property really does need to be redeveloped. And in spite of some rumors out there, and there are always rumors around these kinds of issues, and who knows where they come from, but in spite of rumors to the contrary, no one on this team, and I know no one on the county commission wants to close down that property entirely. It's just not something that's in anyone's best interest. Everyone on this team, and I believe you all do as well, want to ensure that all of the scheduled events can take place that are currently on the schedule to the fullest extent possible. There's some things we need to talk about before that does happen, and I'm going to ask Ms. Brady to talk about that in just a minute, along with Mr. Mora. But before some of these events can be scheduled, there are some repairs that have to happen out there, and we're working on those, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. What we can't tell you today is the exact amount of time and the exact cost for those repairs. We don't think it's going to take very long, but at the same time, we don't want to commit to something and then and be wrong. So we will, as soon as we have that information, which should be very soon, we'll report back to you, and no later than your next regular meeting in 2 weeks. So, Ms. Brady, will you please present the agenda item? And Commissioner, with your permission, I'd like to make a couple of short comments after Ms. Brady and Mr. Mora complete their presentation. Okay. Chris?
Thank you, and good morning, Commissioners. At your last board meeting, you directed staff to bring back an agenda item report regarding the Civic Center property. This agenda item is addressing a short-term operating plan for the property and annual fair, while working on a community engagement plan to receive input from our citizens on what type of uses they would like to see at this property. This currently includes an online survey, which will close this weekend, and then a town hall meeting, which will be scheduled for citizens in the near future. This information will be gathered and be brought back to the board at a future workshop for the board's discussion. Currently, repairs have been completed at the Tinsley Pavilion, Davidson House, the 3 barns, and the Grand Pavilion. These repairs allow for the 4-H youth program to continue using these facilities in a safe environment. Facilities construction and management team continue to work on a plan for the actual Civic Center building, and Assistant County Manager Mark Moore will now provide you with that update. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Good morning, Commissioners. Since last meeting, staff from Facilities and Community Development have worked with the engineering firm of Weston and Sampson to build a better understanding of the issues they discovered in the Civic Center during their assessment. Wade Brown, PE of Weston and Sampson, has outlined 9 electrical-related deficiencies, many cited as either a code violation or a life safety issue. The deficiencies range from simple fixes, such as reinstalling panel covers, to more complicated electrical work, such as the replacement of the Civic Center's main switch with a circuit breaker. In addition to the electrical issues discovered in the Civic Center building, while repairing other ancillary buildings and barns, staff found concerns with the parking lot light poles. Many have exposed live wiring that will need to be replaced, capped, and covered. The estimated repair cost for the parking lot lights is between $17,000 and $22,000. All of the deficiencies mentioned will be the focus of our facility staff as they assess what short-term repairs can be made to mitigate life safety concerns. As noted in Weston and Sampson's assessment report, the recommended code compliance and life safety repairs are estimated to be north of $300,000, which may trigger certain procurement rules. The county manager's request for additional time to report back to the board regarding these issues will enable our team to better assess the cost and timeline for repairs. Thank you. Mr. DeJoy.
Thank you, Mark and Chris. Commissioners, these recommendations that we make to you today, they support the continuation of the 4-H program on the property, and in fact will likely enhance the 4-H opportunity for more access. It supports the 100-year anniversary for the county fair to still take place in 2024. It allows us to create a transition plan for your consideration that includes honoring the existing event schedule once repairs are sufficient to mitigate life safety concerns. And then ultimately, it codifies a process for the board that we can use for future redevelopment of that property. Today, this ultimately is a policy call for you to make, and however the board votes today, we will fully engage to execute. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Very good. All right, Commissioners, any questions for our county manager at this time? Before we make any motions today, though, let's go ahead and we'll take public comment before we make any motions today, so that we take public comment one time and hear from them before we take action. But any questions right now at this time for Commissioner Pendergrass?
Roger, thank you. Thank you, staff, for putting this all together. I had a couple questions. So since last time we met, I asked some questions to staff presented the last time that they were going to hire 3 employees to run the facility after the contract expired, sunsetted with the Fair Board. Based upon that, the staff provided me, I don't know if everybody else got it or not, an estimate of around $688,000 for 1 year for supervisor salaries, maintenance salaries, operating equipment. Plus, on top of that $688, did not have those numbers, but based upon my own analysis, you have to have equipment that's up to $1 million for the first year to run the facility, which we're not paying for now for that running now. My question is to staff, and I've done this a few times, I understand why this language was created. On the motion requested under B, item on line 3, you clarify state maintaining planned events to the extent possible. And then under item number 2, line 6, again, you said the word extent possible. So after September 30th, with all these events planned at the Civic Center, and I'm going to go through the list if everybody doesn't have the list, starting October 1st, you told us last time we met, you'd be able to maintain all those events. So after, starting October 2nd, 4-H meeting, Riverdale class reunion, gun show, Halloween haunted house, Pee Wee's House of Southwest Florida, livestock meeting, Board of Trustees meeting, RV show, 4-H meeting, home remodeling show for 2 days. And the list goes on and on through each month. RV shows, senior expos, craft shows, 4-H meetings, elections, seminar, La Mesa, RV show for 2 days. There's a big one, I think in January for a week, Fort Myers RV show, takes up the whole facility, and every other month is a gun show. Would you be able to provide enough staff to run all these events without canceling? Because this is what my colleagues understand. I know Commissioner Hammond, you said it a few meetings ago, we've seen this movie before. What happens is those events will get canceled, and at the end of the day, we, the Board of County Commissioners, are going to get blamed for canceling all these shows. So I'm just throwing it out there now. I've been here, done this before, and Commissioner Hammond, you've seen it before with Extension Services. This stuff is not be able, and they put that word extent possible in the agenda item. So if it doesn't happen, then it's done on the blue sheet that way. So let's bring it up if anybody else wants to question that. That's my question to you, Roger. Could you still provide all these events without canceling one show?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Dave?
Thank you, Roger. Commissioners, based on the question, our goal would be to run all those events. I think with the extent possible, the statement there was specifically related to the Civic Center and what we were able to do working around the electrical issue and working around when we bring the CMAR in to do the work to try to make sure the events happen. Parks and Recreation, which would ultimately oversee this facility, runs events all the time. We have on-calls, we have event coordinators. So I believe Chris Brady and her team are working on that transition plan. Our goal would be to work on a transition plan, work with the Fair Board, meet with them as many times as possible to work through that transition plan to make sure there isn't anything that's missed through this process.
Based upon that contract, once it sunsets, there will be no Fair Board to negotiate with other than the fair itself. So all these other events would be on us. So it'd be our employees having to park cars, run these shows, man the restrooms, clean the place, open the doors, unlock the doors. And that's my question. My next question was to the county attorney was, if these contracts are already in place for upcoming events, where does that put us in liability? After spending $1 million to facilitate the place, then have to cancel the shows, do we have any liability if we cancel the shows because of lack of the extent possible?
Let me answer the first part, and then I'll turn it over to the county attorney for the legal portion. Collecting, parking, maintaining restrooms, the cost that Chris gave you or the team gave you for maintaining the facility is to maintain the outside of the facility. Parks and Recreation does parking for events all the time, and we do it through 2 ways. We have on-calls. We have a ton of on-calls that do that type of work. And we also partner with other nonprofit entities to split the profits so that they will get a percentage and we'll get a percentage. So there is a number of ways that the county itself can make that happen because that's something Parks does on a regular basis anyways. So
those numbers aren't even factored in the original request of how much it's going to cost to maintain and keep operations of the facility as it currently has now.
Correct. That was not included in there specifically because we're not sure. Well, we wanted to wait till after today until we understood where the board wanted to go, make sure the events were going to happen. On-calls we'd be coming from the revenue that we generate. So we didn't add that cost because we're assuming we're going to be bringing in revenue to offset those costs of on-calls.
I'm just asking, as a conservative, I'd just like to know if I'm voting to charge Lee County taxpayers over $1 million now or more a year for something we're getting free now. I'd like to be able to justify that in the future over the next few years after we are called upon why we cancel these events and paying more of the money than we did before. So that's why I was asking for those numbers. I'd like to know what the number is. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Greenwell? So we're assuming, Dave, that we would be getting some income from those scheduled events to help offset that. Is that what I heard?
Yes, that is correct, Commissioner.
So anything we would book in the future would also offset any cost Lee County taxpayers would have to pay because we'll be able to utilize those funds to run the facility.
Yes, ultimately it would go in the general fund, but yes, it would offset overall.
Right. So we're not putting a burden on the taxpayer for $1 million. We're going to be able to accumulate a large portion of that money over time with the events that we would put on at that facility. correct? Close?
That's a little tougher. We will generate revenue, but ultimately, when it comes to Parks and Recreation in general, we don't generate the revenue to oversee the ultimate cost. So I think we generate 18% of revenue that cover our costs.
So, Commissioner, I think in addition to that, all the work that has to be done to make the repairs that will be necessary in order to have all the events have to be paid for no matter what. We have to make those repairs no matter what, if all those events are to take place. So will we recover all of that money through revenue generation? We can't say today. It doesn't hardly matter which one of these venues around the state, whether it's a convention center operation or it's an outdoor venue like this one, mostly outdoor with a civic center. I'm not aware of any, but maybe one or two that are financially self-sufficient. They all get subsidy of some sort. It depends on the level of service provided by that facility. If we're going to make the repairs, then yeah, it's not going to break even. Over time, perhaps, but we can't guarantee that. But what I can tell you is, based on the track record of this team that you've seen over and over again over time, the ability to perform. I'm confident we can do the work. I'm confident that we can have the majority of those events continue to take place, assuming the people paying for those events still want to do that, with the exception of maybe one or two while some of this work is being done over the next short term. So I want to make sure that we're completely, fully disclosive of these issues. It's going to cost some money to do some of the repairs, but that has to happen anyway.
Very good. Any further questions before we go to public comment?
Question, I guess, for the county attorney. Talking about fees and stuff, I know we have this issue before some of our parks and also the senior centers where they want to do bingo, and I know we were not allowed to collect the money. There's exemptions for that. Richard, how does that work if this is an event at the Civic Center, we have county employees taking door fees, ticket money, where would that money go to? Would the county be able to keep that money at the door, or does it have to be a third-party vendor? Like when we do parking, those groups and not-for-profits collect that money, and they get to keep that money, like United Way, whatever it may be, veteran groups, Boys and Girls Club. But if they're actually collecting money at the door to enter for an RV show or parking, could the county receive that money and keep that money to offset the revenue, or would they have to forfeit that money to another way, as we currently do in our other parks?
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, Mr. County Attorney, go ahead.
Famous lawyer answer, it depends. And I don't mean to be flippant in that. It depends on the nature of the event and the internal controls that are put in place that would govern the conduct of that event.
Gun show, every other month. Suncoast Gun Show rents the facility for a gun show. We've all been there to a certain point. You pay to get in, you pay to park. Could the county keep that revenue for that? Would it be shared with the vendor that's renting the place?
It would depend on the nature of the agreement between the county and the gun show operator as to whether there was any type of revenue split contemplated within that agreement, or if the gun show operator were merely leasing the facility for that day or that event from the county. It depends on the nature of the agreement that is struck between the parties as to whether there would be any revenue sharing allocation or not.
Great, thank you. So in my comments, because I'm not going to say anything else about it. We all agree that something needs to be done with the place. It's embarrassing. We should have done something years ago. I wish we'd done it sooner, but we didn't. But my looking at long-term, short-term, we need to have a master plan, what we need to do forward. I hate to spend millions of dollars over the next couple of years putting a Band-Aid to turn around and tear the place down a year or two from now. What I'd like to see, maybe we'll discuss it later after we take a motion, or I'm happy to make it as a motion to continue the practices it is now for another year. During that time, we do an RFP out to either demolish the whole facility and build it from the ground up, or have a master plan of how they can be more involved with the community and have pickleball courts, 4-H, rodeo, civic center, dog park, have everything on the ground. We have a jewel there, 100 acres there within Lee County you would never be able to replace again, and bring it back to where we use throughout the community year-round and do it right. So, thank you.
Commissioner Ruane.
Several questions, sorry. So I find us that first and foremost, we have repairs that we need to make regardless. And those are how much, approximately?
Mark?
Commissioner, in total, the recommended repairs are about $375,000.
And secondarily, it's our intent to do as many events as we possibly can, but that period of time, that might take 8 weeks or 10 weeks, is where we have the most vulnerability of not being able to have anything take place. The other thing that's interesting about this, and you have been here, both of you, a lot longer than I have, but having come from a different city, there's always been an ability to report financial information. The financial information is the key to say, okay, we're going to have these 10 events, and these are the arrangements on how the revenue is actually generated. This is the contract you have with that particular vendor. This is how your expenses are going to come together. What is lacking in this was two things that find us where we are. One, there's no financial report on what transpired in the past, okay? There's no annual reporting of we had 13 events, we took an X in revenue, we spent Y in expenses. I can't imagine that this facility is running at a deficit, because then where does the money come from this group to obviously fund it? The second issue that I struggle with in this regard is I can't imagine that any agreements that have taken place from a long-term point of view or from a perpetual point of view, those agreements, would they be any different, Mr. County Attorney, whether it's the county commission with the gun club or the county or the board fair with the gun club? I mean, I'd imagine the essence of that contract for a set event would be very similar, would it not?
Mr. County Attorney.
I apologize. Based on the direction provided by the board, we would anticipate, yes, sir, they would be extremely similar in terms of terms, conditions, and requirements.
My last comment. I want to see every single possible event take place, but I want to put safety and welfare first. And anything that's life-threatening, we need to take care of, and I'll apologize to the public that we need to address those. This would have been an ideal situation if said sinking fund, which is very commonly used in the private sector, had put together for a while. You'd accumulate money to be able to deal with these issues. And wherever way we go, we need a short-term situation, and then we need to build a different model than what exists today, because the model right now lacks financial reporting, lacks a sinking fund, and we find ourselves with a building that's 50 years old that has a lot of needs. And as the landlord or the owner, we didn't really have an active role in what those were. We didn't have an inspection. We didn't have a right to go in. We didn't do those things. And that's where I find myself in this situation. It was certainly a point in time where the county wanted to obviously subcontract this out. They wanted obviously someone else to run this event. What we're just lacking is just the financial model of what took place in those 20-odd years. And it had to come from money from someplace. I don't think there was donors that actually funded this at a deficit. The volunteers obviously offset a salary, and I recognize as a business person, those volunteers eliminate a salary. So we might have salaries where they have volunteers. I recognize that. But all the events have to have some form of revenue, and it just is difficult to sit here not having a lot of historical information that would help us understand the conversations. We're going to speculate what type of revenue it might bring in. We're going to speculate what type of expenses we're going to have. But I think we all agree we need to fix the things that we need to fix right now. I'm trying to come up with a short term, and I'd really like to keep it short term to figure out what our long-term path is. Because I agree with Commissioner Pendergrass, I'm not looking to put in $1 million here and $1 million there at the end of the day, and then 2 years later we tear the building down. That just doesn't make a lot of sense. But what I'm more than comfortable to do is do the necessary life safety repairs that are necessary. And I want to make sure we keep every event that we possibly could have. And I've heard from staff that they could give us a pretty high degree of confidence that that could take place.
Thank you. Mr. Chair?
Sure.
Just to clarify one issue, I think it's been said, but I just want to make sure. During the repairs, it would be the Civic Center building itself that would be closed during that time. Everything else, with the exception of Whaley Hall, will be open. and available for all the events that are scheduled for all those other pieces on the property. And so depending on how long it takes to fix those life safety issues, it would affect those events in the Civic Center only.
You got any questions before we go to public comment?
Just a comment before, and I'm very interested to hear the public comment. County manager started off with 2 words. One was, let's look forward, which I think is critical. This other thing was partnership. And what I'm really interested in is how that partnership is formed. And I break it down to 2 things. We obviously have the issues of life safety. We have to address those. In good faith, everybody's going to visit that. The other part is that I'm very cognizant of keeping people and programs that we have in place to go forward. And not just go forward, but be exceptional in service so that they want to come back. And so I'll leave it there for right now.
Let's follow up with Roger's comments, so, go ahead.
Yeah, Commissioner Greenwell.
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I think one thing we have to look at as a board here is we know we're going to run the fair. They have the ability to run the fair coming next year. So that's not really, I don't think the issue. The issue is for us to take it over so we can start moving forward with the repairs and getting a plan in place now. It makes no sense to prolong it out there when we know we have the issues in front of us. We know we not only have the life dangerous issues out there, life safety things that we have to repair and fix, but we have to make decisions on what we're going to do with it in the future. Pushing it out farther makes no sense because we have the opportunity here now to say, okay, let's fix it. Let's get these events running. Let's continue to do the 4-H program. Are we going to make the 4-H program bigger and better? Can we start that plan now? I think that makes sense for the county. And that's what I'm looking at. What I'm looking at is the fair board's going to have opportunity to run the fair in '24, and they're going to have opportunity to run it beyond that. What we're looking to do is to manage the facility that has gotten run down, that it's become an eyesore and it's become dangerous. So we obviously have to fix that. We know that. But what are we going to do moving forward? And delaying that makes no sense. To me, we know we have the issue. Let's do the right thing and let's start figuring out what we're going to do with the Civic Center, whether it's to spend $20+ million to get it back, something Lee County can be proud of, or are we going to do, tear it down and build something, special for the community? And that's what we're looking at. And I think we're looking at that today, not in the future.
Mr. Pendergrass, you had a...
So, based upon Roger's comments, so first of all, I totally support doing the health and safety features. We talked about that 2 weeks ago, and to do the improvements totally. But we can do that now under the current agreement, correct? We can go on the property between now and September, as we stated 2 weeks ago, and do those repairs, correct?
Yes, sir.
So there's nothing restricting us from doing that even after October 1st if the Fair Board's agreement was continued for another year without having to, so we'd have to pay $1 million for the employees to run that facility, correct? Do we still do the repairs after October 1st?
Commissioner, we can, of course, no matter who's managing that property, we can make the repairs.
Right, so that does not restrict us from doing the health and safety repairs, right? So my initial comments were made only related to the cost factor, how much it's going to cost Lee County taxpayers without reimbursement from any value of ticket sales or parking, how much it's going to cost Lee County taxpayers to facilitate those events after October 1st if the Fair Board's not in place. That's my comments, and that's what I want to make sure my colleagues understand. That it's going to cost $1 million that we're currently not paying to run those facilities, and more. And some of these shows, based upon the blue sheet, will be canceled and will be labeled as the group that canceled the events. And you go through the list of events and pick and choose which one's going to be canceled, because we're not going to have staff to facilitate RV shows and all these other group shows out there. That's what my concern is. And I want to do the health and safety features and fixes, but I want us to have a plan. It'd be proper to have a financial plan, like Commissioner Wayne said, and a construction plan of what we're going to do there over the next year to make sure after September of next year that this facility is going to be, this is what it looks like and how much it's going to cost. We're going to use TDC funds to do it. We're going to use general funds, MSTU, how we're going to fund it. That's what I'd like to see, an actual master plan of what the facility could look like, on top of doing the health and safety features that for the upcoming events for the next year. So that was my conversation. That was my point, was trying to get across, was want to do the health and safety features, want to fix the place up, want to continue having the fair next year. My main thing is how much it's going to cost us as Lee County taxpayers, and also how, based upon the written in the blue sheet, is possible, okay, so I know from doing this before, we worked on other events before in the past, that would be an issue when it comes to certain events will be canceled, and it will be back on us while we cancel those events. So I'm just trying to give a heads up on that. So that's my comments on that.
Okay, I want to share some thoughts too and jump into the conversation a little bit. So I think thinking about this, you know, and again, we're not going to solve the issue before we take public comment today. We're going to take public comment and hear from them before we make a decision. But so we actually have a couple different setups here in Lee County where we have the ability to manage recreational facilities on our own. If you look at Hammond Stadium, JetBlue Park, right? I think we actually handle those through Parks and Recreation. We manage those facilities. We don't hire any outside firm to manage those facilities, right? Do we hire outside firms, or are the Red Sox and Twins in charge of programming those facilities, or is it us that's in charge of programming those facilities?
It's a mix, Commissioner. When it comes to the Twins, typically it's the county or the Twins facility. Okay. The county will program the facility. At JetBlue, it's a mix. The Red Sox have it in their contract that they can bring in events on their own, but they man it. Okay. We will have staff doing the regular maintenance like we typically would do.
But when we think about the Civic Center facility, we have definitely subcontracted out that management of that facility, right? And so, so I understand, I guess, if we decided to end that and take back over management of the facility, we would have to add to probably our Parks and Recreation Department in order to provide that management of the facility. Is that how it would work?
Yes, that would be correct.
Okay, and so that does come with a cost to us. Now that cost could be offset by some of the revenue generated from the events held at that facility. And okay, so I think we're understanding that. So really, I mean, that's the question. Is there a scenario where we could put out a request for proposals for management of the facility and get that procurement wrapped up by the time this sunsets in September?
We'd have to ask Mary Tucker that question.
Because, I mean, as she's walking up here, that's what we could decide. We could decide, obviously the current agreement sunsets when in September? Is it September 30th?
September 30th.
So the end of the fiscal year. So the current agreement for management of this facility ends on September 30th, the end of our fiscal year. So we have obviously some time between April and September where we could do a procurement and say, we would like to take bids on who could be the best manager of the facility. And certainly anybody could compete. It'd be an open competition. And then our selection team could pick who they think would be the best manager going forward. I think there's a scenario where you could say, if this is going to be temporary, if we are going to maybe redevelop, which I'm actually really in favor of doing something better for the community. Now that doesn't mean Gulf Coast Town Center. Please hear me very clearly. That means something that fits in with the rural character of the Bayshore area and North Fort Myers area. That means something that preserves the civic functions of a civic center. That means something that's very clearly related to ag and rural. That's because this is my hometown. I was born and raised here just like all of you, okay? That means something nice for the community. That does not mean hotels and retail and any of that. But I don't want to create a whole county department or expand a county department for a short-term management of a facility if there is the ability to continue to contract out for that service, if it makes more sense financially for the taxpayers to continue to contract for that service. So I think that's a good question to ask before we move much further. Do we want to continue with the contracted management style? And if so, then I think that should be competed for. Or do we want to actually go ahead and take over the county as the county take over management? And if so, we should just understand those costs. And like Commissioner Ruane said, understand those costs and how they'll be paid for, how they'll be covered. If it's going to come to the general fund or if it's going to be offset by how much revenue, you know, basically put together a business plan for that. So Mary, what are your thoughts on, could we get a procurement like that done between now and the end of the fiscal year?
Good morning. My name's Mary Tucker. I'm the Director of Procurement Management. To do one for management services, you're probably looking at about 6 months for us to get a solicitation done because the scope of work would have to be created first. If we were looking at doing a master plan, you're looking at 4 to 6 months to do one of those, and then you would probably be looking at 4 to 6 months for them to actually develop the master plan.
So are they two separate things then? You would develop the master plan and then you do a procurement after that?
Well, it depends which direction you want to go. If you're looking for a master plan to be done, that we would typically hire an engineer or an architect to do that. And that would be about 4 to 6 months to do that. If you're looking for,
And then they'd have to do the management plan?
then they have to do the master plan. If you're looking for someone to just operate the facility and not the master plan, then you're looking at about 6 months.
Okay. Interesting.
If I may, Chairman,
Commissioner
one last
Greenwald,
thing. I think that brings us to, you make a great point. We obviously have the ability to take care of facilities as a county. And you see the facilities that the county staff does a wonderful job taking care of. And then you go out to the Civic Center and you see a facility that looks like that. So that's why I feel like it's so important that the county have management of that facility to at least put it in the condition that why we're deciding on this, because it's going to take time to decide ultimately whether it's a redevelopment and get that in place. It could take, quite a bit of time. But in the meantime, we can have a facility that's safe, ran properly, and obviously have some improvements made. So that's why I just believe the county is the right people to run it. So that's my last 2 cents.
One quick comment.
Ruane,
I think that's really relevant. So great discussion. Last couple of meetings, we've all had dialogue. We've had ideas. The public has done this. But what I did read in the worksheet is that there'll be a future workshop. We're basically what I call in my private company, we're spitballing up here. That's what we're doing. We're not coming up with a solution. We're throwing out different ideas. We're trying to grasp it. I don't know on the dais if we're able to actually accomplish that. We do great jobs in workshop environments. And that was one of the recommendations in the blue sheet, that we do have a workshop. So maybe we can get to a point of doing the immediate repairs and moving the workshop environment quicker so we can come up with what our thoughts are, what we actually want to go with, what type of expenses we accustomed to. Is it a renovation? Is it a repair? We can at least talk about that. I don't know how much we accomplish in a 30 or 40-minute discussion that we're going to have amongst ourselves, and then an hour of the public participation. Let's carve this out like we do on workshops and have a workshop on this particular issue to come up with not only a short-term plan, and what Commissioner Hammond said about procurement might make sense, but also a long-term plan. But those options are going to be difficult to do on the dais. I mean, no different than what we did last time. We're trying to make a motion on the fly. We're trying to come up with a long-term solution that I just think is more apropos in a workshop. Those are my final comments.
All right, at this time then, if there's no objection, I'll go ahead and move into the public comment phase. I'll begin. Looks like the first card I have says Jack Snyder. I'm going to go ahead for public comment. It's just like we did at the last meeting. You'll come up to the podium. At the top of the podium, there's a green light, yellow light, and a red light. When you come up, it's real important not to touch the microphone. It's a really sensitive microphone, and any adjustment makes it sound all funny and weird. So don't touch the microphone. Just come on up, and when the yellow light comes on, that's when you'll want to start to think about wrapping up, because when the red light comes on, I'll call the next speaker, just to make sure that we give everybody a fair chance to talk today. So, all right, Mr. Snyder, go ahead, and then after Mr. Snyder will be Don Wells.
Good morning. My name is Jack Snyder. I'm a long-term resident of the Alva community. Going back to the early 70s, I spent a lot of time going to the fair as a kid, and now as a father and as a business owner. The whole complex itself fits a niche that the other venues do not. Hertz Arena and what they put on there is not what should be going at the Civic Center. The Hertz Arena is an enclosed indoor event, and the Civic Center is more of an outdoor event. So I ask that as you plan to go forward, that you please consider keeping it an outdoor event. It fits what it is intended for today, what is evolved into today. I do believe that the management of the board, that they've done a very good job over time, working on a shoestring budget with very little support and a lot of volunteers. So they've done a very good job, and I don't know any of the board whatsoever. I'm just a product of when I've gone there, and I've learned as a kid, as a parent, and now as a business owner, and I've seen so many things that they do. And then also as a resident, that Civic Center really fits what it should and what it should continue to do as an outdoor event, not as hotels, development, or anything else. Thank you.
All right, Don Wells, followed by Denise Eberly.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Don Wells, and I'm the recorder for the Araba Shrine. We've held the Araba Circus in the, I guess I should call it Civic Center, but the big main building for many years. This year we're having the circus on May the 12th. Lee County closing the Civic Center, the main building, has put Araba in a terrible position. We cannot cancel the circus at this late date. Araba starts planning the circus a year in advance. We've sold tickets, we've signed contracts, and because Lee County closed the main building, our only option to honor our commitments is to have an outdoor circus. The problem with this is we're going to be at the mercy of the weather and in the hot sun during the 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. performances. The 11 a.m. performance, we invite all the Lee County elementary schools. We normally have 200 to 300 children attend that performance. We're praying we have good weather. The cost of the circus cost $20,000. The owner of the circus has offered to provide a tent for $15,000. We just cannot afford that. Even though Araba is a nonprofit organization, we still have bills to pay, and we just can't afford to pay $15,000 for a tent. Lee County knew the problems with the main building on or before March the 21st, yet Lee County allowed a gun show to be held in the Civic Center on April the 1st and 2nd. We pray Lee County will reconsider and allow us to hold the circus inside the main building or work with us to find an affordable alternative. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Thank you for your comments. Denise Eberly, followed by Martin Burnett.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name's Denise Eberly, board member of ALVA Inc. and chairman Oversight Committee. It's clear what the people want. The overwhelming majority are in support of repair and renovation of the Civic Center, not to tear it down, not to sell it, and not to lease it to a private developer. The building is structurally sound. To rebuild would put the Civic Center out of service for a year, at least 2. When we have the building structure is good, but like any other building, it needs renovation. Just as your home, you don't tear it down and build a new house. You get a new roof when needed, a new air conditioner, a new hot water heater, new toilets, etc. The Fair Board has managed this property for 27 years and has brought in events enjoyed by hundreds of thousands. They have kept with the traditions and interests of rural and agricultural communities, the last of Lee County. I want to see the board continue to manage the Civic Center for years to come. Sorry, I don't have any faith in the county running it. I appreciate the survey, but the suggestions listed are geared towards amenities in support of developers and development to attract more development, which is an existential threat to our rural communities. There is an obvious motive here. The Civic Center managed by the Fair Board offers the continuance of an agricultural rural venue. We don't need an amphitheater, golf courses, RV park, drones. I have a suggestion to add the flywheelers. The Civic Center can continue to offer concerts, graduations, rodeos, indoor venues. It has potential to seat 8,000 plus people in an enclosed, air-conditioned environment, which is necessary in Florida due to weather and mosquitoes. It contains noise and lighting, which would disrupt the surrounding communities, livestock, and wildlife. We have a new amphitheater downtown. We have Barbara B. Mann. We have Hertz Arena. The Civic Center is held true to American values and the foundation of which our country was built, which is disappearing rapidly. Keep it as is, alive for our children and our children's children. Just keeping the 4-H club is simply an appeasement. Keep it as it was, a rural, hometown, agricultural, and traditional American venue. Auctions, fairs, livestock, agricultural, 4-H rodeos, concerts, gun shows, craft shows, garden shows, and the like. It does not need to be reimagined. Do the right thing. Thank you.
Martin Burnett, followed by Bruce Kramer. Martin Burnett? Oh, gonna pass? Okay. How about Bruce Kramer, followed by Megan Maloney? Morning.
Good morning. Thank you for your time. All right, so my name is Bruce Kramer. I am a co-founder and executive board member of an organization called the Charity Pros, which is a nonprofit here in Fort Myers. My comments today is I support the redevelopment. If I take a look at the Hertz Center today, 100 acres.
Please just direct your comments to the board. Yeah, thanks.
I'm sorry, I apologize. You know, if I look at that 100 acres, it's significantly underutilized. No doubt, there's an opportunity to not only put 4-H in addition to the fair on steroids, but with a much grander vision around the type of event facility that could be put there to handle all kinds of events. Today, the residents of this community are going to West Palm, they're going to Tampa, where there's much larger events that they can take part of. And I think it's a real missed opportunity if this group doesn't start to think through what are all the possibilities now that we can clean the slate, move forward with the fair 4-H. I agree, those homespun opportunities need to stay there. We don't want to see that die, but certainly with the population growth, the fact that in one night down in Naples, they seated 23,000 people, another 6,000 at the Hertz Center. There's a need for scale. This area is growing. And I couldn't agree more with Kevin. I think in that redevelopment, whatever organization, they need to work closely and they need to run it as a business. My last comment would be, is imagine if every ticket sold, every car parked, every hot dog sold, every Coke that was drank, if a portion of that money, working with a nonprofit, could go right back into the community. Nobody gets rich but the community. You would be able to take all of those proceeds off of all of those different revenue streams and really, really give back. Give back to the community. And it will continue. It's an annuity. Forever, money will be pumped back into this community, back into of course, the county, as well as all the local charities, and we know they're in need. So there are other options. So please move forward with redevelopment and start thinking about what those are. Thank you.
Thank you. Megan Maloney. After Megan Maloney will be Amanda Cochran.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Megan Maloney, founder and executive director of the Charity Pros, a Fort Myers nonprofit organization that advocates for children's causes and helps provide a better life for kids and families. First, I want to say we appreciate all the work that the staff's put in. We really liked seeing this survey, and we're happy to see the amphitheater as an option. Let's face it, the use of the Civic Center for the past decade has only really served the same small fraction of our county month to month. So I think now is time for change and something fresh. I don't think we should waste any more time or money on the inevitable fate of the Civic Center. We believe that our Give Back Amphitheater project would be the best choice to replace the Civic Center and the best use of space for the community and all of Southwest Florida to enjoy. The Charity Pros will also design and build the amphitheater at no cost to taxpayers. I'm not going to speak too in depth about the project today. I hope to have an opportunity to speak more fully to the staff and board in the future. However, I will say this. Community-driven, family-friendly events, affordable concerts, major theater productions, cultural festivals, and big names in entertainment that have never played Southwest Florida. Much like Bruce was saying, imagine the revenue from those ticket sales, the food, the beverage, parking, and merchandise all being shared with our local charities who now need more support than ever before. Speaking of important causes and support, we do love and support the 4-H and fair. As part of our charity partner program, we will share the revenue with the 4-H while financially supporting their growth and the development of their projects moving forward. Let's make the fair bigger and better. And the Charity Pros was founded to make a difference, and that's exactly what we do.
Thank you very much. Amanda Cochran, followed by Henry Fichter.
I'm going to read. It's easier. Amanda Cochran, good morning. For a property that has been ignored for so many years, this all seems very rushed. It seems rushed to shut down the property after 110,000 people had just been there days before. But it will take an estimated 6 to 8 months for the county to complete just priority 1 safety repairs. It seems there is a rush to get the county to take over the property and remove the current management team, but I haven't heard any real plan for the county long-term or even short-term on the property. As a member of this community, I have questions. Commissioner Greenwell suggested himself as the liaison between the Civic Center property and this board. But specific to the redevelopment of this property, my question is, was that really in the best interest of the community, given the recently approved land use change on his own property, alongside of Kitson's across the street from the Civic Center?
Be careful, we don't want to have any personal attacks here.
That's okay. It's all public record, right?
All right.
Thank you.
I'm just telling you.
Thank you. It's public record.
It's not going to help you if you
That's
personally
okay.
attack a board.
I am not.
Right?
I am not. It's relevant.
Okay.
It's
All right.
relevant.
Continue.
Thank you. I appreciate that. County Manager Mr. Desjardins stated no one really contemplated that the Fair Association in that business model would be unable to afford the kinds of repairs and upgrades that are necessary for that property. He went on to say it needs to be in the hands of the government. However, he also stated in that meeting that there is very likely, through a competitive process, public-private partnerships to be had that would be considered. So my question is, which one is it? That we put it in the hands of the county management to manage it, or do we open it up for public-private? I'm confused. Our section of the community, Alva, North Fort Myers, East Fort Myers, has made it very clear we're not interested in Kitson and a Lee County government-type private-public partnership. We're interested in a Lee County Fair Board and Lee County government-type public-private partnership. We're not interested in 4-story apartments like are going up down the road. Why do some members of this board believe that in order to accomplish the goals of reimagining the Civic Center, the management team for the past 27 years has to be removed, when it was just said that you can make whatever changes to the property with the current board there? Mr. Desjardins is right. The Civic Center is old and worn out. The Fair Board, for all of their years and dedication as a nonprofit organization to the members of this community, has never had the benefit or the pleasure of running this property in the condition that it deserves to be in. If the Board of County Commissioners chose to work with the Fair Board as a public-private partnership instead of replacing them, imagine the cooperation between the two that could be reimagined to its full potential. Thanks.
All right, Henry Fichter, followed by Connie Dennis. Let's see.
Good morning, County Commissioners, County staff, County Manager. My name is Henry Fichter. I'm an East Fort Myers resident. Spoke previously on this topic. Great questions from Mr. Pendergrass today. Mr. Owain, good point I think you made about how acknowledging the role that the county has in this facility and its current state. Mr. Pendergrass, the questions you posed were very important to a lot of us in the community. We need to understand these items. Your constituents need to understand these items. It appears, that you guys are planning to move forward with the wish of the community in mind. I want to ask that as you negotiate with the Fair Board, that you do so in good faith, and remember that based on the previous meeting, that the topic came up that it was clear that both the Fair Board and the county had responsibilities in this Civic Center to keep it up. It wasn't solely on one or the other. We as a community we are concerned. We know county resources are stretched thin. We are concerned about how you're going to handle the day-to-day operations and if it will be more costly in the long run. If we don't have someone managing those day-to-day operations, how much more costly this could become. And it could deter the county from continuing with the idea of keeping the property and facility for its intended purpose. It's nothing more than perception, but it is worth mentioning that with a lot of the rezoning that's going on out there, the development by Babcock on 31 and North River Road, the continued rezoning and land use amendments going down North River Road and throughout North Fort Myers, it's alarming for us out there as citizens to see what's going on. And this property is kind of the cornerstone and kind of the genesis of what we see as our community out there. So we care very much about it. I would just ask that you continue to make it a traditional venue like it has been, and keep up with that rural character that we've got out there. It's very important to us. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Connie Dennis, and that's the last card I have on this item. I assume, yeah, okay. You'll be after Connie.
Hi, I'm Connie Dennis, and I'm now president of Alva Inc. And I think that we've kind of given our opinion about what's going on. I do want to say I'm a former retired teacher from Alva School, and the 4-H has been very, very important to our students, and I appreciate the support that you've all given to the 4-H, and that we want to continue with that. I'm just going to reiterate what Mr. Fichter said, that I'm very impressed with what you've come up with, the idea of having a workshop. We kind of feel like we're left out sometimes and we don't really know what's going on. And if you had a workshop, we're trying Zoom now so we can get some participation, but something that we can have some input. But all of the suggestions you've come up with, you know, you're being careful about the money, everything is going to happen. So I'm just, as a president, I want to support what you want to do now and let us be a part of what you come up with. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Ellis, and then does anybody else wish to speak? Okay, if you could go ahead and make your way to the door, we'll call you up after Ms. Ellis.
All right, thank you. First of all, Marcia Ellis, and when I take a look at the graphic, I agree with 3 of the items that are presented up here. What concerns me is the prepare the transition plan, because I think it is a bit premature. I think that should, instead, I very much like the language that Mr. Hammond came up with, develop alternate scenarios, including an analysis of the different scenarios to better evaluate what could happen. Also want to point out that the cost should include things like attorneys, architects, insurance, planners, some of the more high dollar payouts that occur when these types of scenarios are developed as well, and to point out the resilience capacity that our community currently has with the fair as a multi-use functional space. The fact that that space has been utilized to stage our emergency management prior to hurricanes, during the hurricanes, after the hurricanes, the capacity for potentially hardening it as a shelter to harbor the growing population of Lee County, and that open space component that does have conservation value is really important, serving multiple functions for us as a community. And I would think that space would be considered in things like our hazard mitigation plan, that we could evaluate our role of the county resources in that broader, as a broader umbrella in our community. Also want to point out that the management of the Fair Board, they are our 1,000 points of light, bringing benevolence and goodwill through their civic engagement at the Civic Center and through the Fair Board. And that does represent the best of our traditional values, our heritage and our legacy in the past and going forward. I think there is a tendency to commodify some of the best parts of this community. And what I mean by that is, I mean commodifying everything from conservation value, our water resources that we've taken for granted, our water quality, our education. All of these things are being commodified, and we're losing the capacity of our community to engage with one another. And I think that the fair and the Civic Center represents the best that we all as individuals and collectively offer one another. And I hate to see that opportunity be denied the public for an opportunity to commodify what we value. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Please come forward. And when you get up here, would you please state your name for the record?
Good morning. My name is Rosa Mary Edwards Lippincott McCoy. I have not addressed the commission in many, many years. I live on the property in Alva where I was born for 81 years. Mike, I think you people are just brushing aside and say, let's have a committee on this, let's have it on that, let's have it on that. We already have the fair committee as guardians or workers. Why do we have to hire someone else? We do not. You are taking away all of our agriculture and everything else that all of North Fort Myers, Lee County is set for. Mike, I've known since he was a teenager. I'm amazed at what he said. Let's shut it down. You don't shut down something that's already in place, and it's working. Put the fair board back in place, get our revenues coming up, and let them run it and work with them, and you are lousy landlords.
All right. Any other comments today? Good deal. And just a reminder not to personally attack anybody on the board. That would be.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Todd Reed. There is no doubt that Southwest Florida is growing. We all know what used to take us 5 minutes to drive now takes us an hour and a half. But my question is, where have the meetings been with the Fair Board? These changes, this building has not eroded in a year. What is the rush to get this done? We are all for reimagining the Civic Center, but what it's used for. That is a rural community. We are not Naples. We are not Tampa. We are not Sarasota or any other thing that wants a large concert venue. We are the small hometown that's all that's left of Southwest Florida. We have invited you all to come to the fair. Commissioner Pendergrass, you came. Thank you so much for that. The rest were not available. We'll just leave it at that. I understand.
I mean, no offense, I'm born and raised here. I don't even know who you are if you grew up here, but I've been to the fair pretty much every year. I mean, to make an accusation like that is kind of weird, but go ahead.
I'm just saying, we invited you to our ribbon cutting.
Okay.
One person was able to come. We had over 110,000 people. Trust me, guarantee you we didn't see each other.
Come to my church on Sunday then. You're invited.
I go to
Please.
McGregor. It's a great church.
Okay.
So, but what I'm saying is, what's the rush? Nothing else in the community is rushed this quickly. Where have the meetings been with the Fair Board? We had a self-appointed liaison to the Fair Board. I don't think that any meetings have happened when it was promised that we wanted to work closely together. So that's just my question. What's the rush? We know that things are growing, and we're excited about that. Nobody on the Fair Board, in the fair community, any of that, doesn't want to see it bigger and better. But what is the rush to kick the Fair Board out? Where have the meetings been to say, guys, we're not meeting up to the standards that we have? That's just my biggest question. What's the rush? Where have the meetings been? So that's it. I didn't have anything prepared. I was just sitting here talking about, I hear a lot of things about plans and that, but it feels like there's no plans. Everything is, well, we're getting this, we're getting that. No one hears any plans. It's still our community too. So, thank you. That's it.
Any further speakers today? Okay, go ahead. Oh, you can't speak twice. No, you can only speak once. Thanks. All right, so I'll go ahead and close public comment, and we'll come back to the board real quick. I think, one of the things that gets referenced so often in this community that I care very deeply about, too. Like I said, multiple times, born and raised here, have gone to multiple fairs ever since I was a child, bring my kids there now. Loved it when we had stands in the actual place where you could actually watch a concert or watch a monster truck rally using the stands. I mean, it'd be nice to have that again. Loved it when we had high school graduations there. It'd be nice to have that again, too. I mean, it'd be nice to have what I had when I was a kid. And I'd love to be able to share that with my kids as they grow up, as I'm raising them now in my hometown. But I think, to reference the rezonings that comes up over and over and over again, the lady in the red hat is a really nice lady, but unfortunately, when she passes away, there's a real potential that what she's probably going to do, or her family's probably going to do, is sell her land to a developer, right? That's what's continued to happen. And then they sell their land to a developer, and then people request rezonings. No, but that's what's happened, right? We've seen... Go ahead, ma'am. It's fine. It's happened, though.
Again, my name is Rosa Mary Edwards Lippincott McCoy. I live on the property where I was born. And what I'm trying to tell you people is that you're going the wrong way. We have enough development all down south, all there. We don't need high rises. We don't need motels where the fair is. And I will thank you for having the Pioneer Picnic not canceled.
Thank you.
Now, when you mentioned about my property, when I die, it will be sold. I don't think so. I already have it in plan. I have two.
Listen, no.
I have two sons. It cannot be sold to anyone unless it's to a blood relative.
Okay, Ms. McCoy, I apologize.
So come on, Kevin.
Thanks.
And Mike.
So
Mike started
listen,
on
I'm the one who
31
offended
after
you,
he
so I'll speak for
retired.
myself. I apologize. All right,
I
so
do
listen,
think so.
I'll be more polite in my comments going forward.
I certainly hope
very
so.
much.
And Mike,
Here,
when he
please,
came back
ma'am, okay.
and started his farm on 31,
Please have a seat. Thank you so much.
everybody backed him because he was Mike.
Right. Okay.
Well, Mike, you're not
Ma'am,
doing
your
what
beefs
you
with
were
me.
taught to
You
do.
had your time. Your beefs with me. All right.
Can I speak?
Yeah, sure, Mike. Go ahead.
Okay. Look, I live in that community. Lived here pretty much my whole life. I moved to Fort Myers when I was 4 years old. I understand, and I don't understand why we get off the subject of, for example, 4-H. All I'm trying to do in the county, and I'm trying to get the county to work with it, is to make the 4-H program at the level it should be at. When you go there and you see the facility, it's embarrassing. I have personally stood there and bought animals because I couldn't sit down, because there was nowhere to sit down. It's time we take care of the children like we do with the ball fields and like we do with the soccer fields, and that's what I'm trying to do. As far as the redevelopment, as far as the fair, there will always be a fair in Lee County as long as I have a vote. The Fair Board has an opportunity to continue to run that fair. All they have to do is negotiate a fair deal with the county and continue on. But to be blamed as if we're trying to destroy something, we're trying to make it better. I live across the street. I drive by it every day, multiple times. It has just deteriorated. I'm not blaming the Fair Board. Can I speak? Thank you. I'm saying that there was opportunity for you to have done a better job. I also have contracts that I have to live up to. Unfortunately, I don't think they were. But to blame me would be wrong. I'm trying to fix it for the community and to make it better, and I'm going to push for that. The 6-lane road that's coming through my property was not my choice. That's the state's choice. Babcock Ranch, New City came next to me, but I didn't make that choice. But I have to live with that choice. We have a decision to make as a county. We have a wonderful piece of property that we have an opportunity to build a nicer facility for our constituents, for the children to move along in the future. That's what we are trying to do. We have a board that has their own independent reasons for wanting that fair. That's fine. Negotiate with the staff and continue to run your fair. But to continue to manage the property and the way it's been run is not fair. I'm sorry, but it's not fair. I agree with you. I would love to see us continue to redevelop and help the community even more. Thank you. All I got to say. I'd like to make a motion. I would like to, excuse me, ma'am. I'd like to make a motion to approve this item and move it forward.
Okay, so we have a motion for approval from Commissioner Greenwald. Do we have a second?
So,
I'll need a second real quick before we can continue discussion.
second for discussion.
Okay, second for discussion from Commissioner Ruane.
So staff has recommended, because I've heard a lot of people say we're rushing. Staff has recommended that they obviously make sure we go forward with the Fair Board for 24. They've indicated they would take care of our temporary assuming operations. Also talked about having a workshop. Those are the three items. Is that part of your motion?
Yes, sir.
So I am very much in favor, because I've heard everyone hear the word rush, 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 okay? This building has deteriorated over 23 years, and it was old when you first took it over. I am very much in favor of a workshop to understand what we need to do from a short-term point of view and what we need to do from a long-term point of view. I don't believe sitting up here having a discussion with us commissioners for 20 or 30 minutes is going to come to a solution. We're going to do this on the fly. We pulled this back a meeting ago because we couldn't come up with the appropriate motion, and we were doing it on the fly. I'd like us to go forward with that. That's why I second this. I really want to see the workshop take place.
You know, the point I was trying to make earlier when I made a mistake and owned up to my mistake and apologized was that I think the area should be rural. I think it always has been rural. We don't initiate rezonings. It's not, none of us ever bring forward, hey, there's this square of East Lee County that we should rezone. It's property owners who initiate the rezonings and make application to us. And that's the point that I was trying to make. And I made it inartfully and didn't make it as articulately as I could have. And certainly I've apologized for that. But I don't, the point I wanted to make is Lee County's big enough for everybody, even rural civic centers like we currently have here. I think, you know, what this motion gets us to is the opportunity to have that process to fix up our rural agricultural civic center so that it can be something that the community can enjoy and use. And so I appreciate you making that workshop.
I agree with you, some of your comments, because you were talking about options of, do we go out and do a procurement? Do we do a management agreement? You're talking about things that we all do in workshops. Yeah. We have the opportunity to have this item be its own item to make you deal with one item and not with all our other items on the agenda where you get 20 minutes carved out. When we do workshops, they're an hour, 2 hours long. It's one topic. And I just think that's what does justification to this item. That's what I really want to see take place.
Commissioner Sandell, you got something real quick?
No, I'm just, I started my comments before and I said there's two things. One, we want to look forward. I think we all agree on that. And number two, you know, I think the key word is partnership. And that partnership includes the county, includes the Fair Board, and includes whoever else gets involved in that. And it's that partnership that'll develop what we are going forward. Actually pretty simple in that respect.
Well, on that note, real quick, so thank you everybody for being here today and staff and everything. But on that note, Commissioner Sindel, as you said, that motion dissolves that partnership as of September 30th. We'll be picking up the tab for that cost for the employees. That was my effort earlier, was trying to make us understand that the cost is to be passed on to the Lee County taxpayer. Totally support the redevelopment of the facility. We need to remodel it, have a master plan, and this has been going on. And for everybody who wants to continue, I just want to say real quick, keep bringing up Commissioner Greenwell's name. He was here, what, a year now? This was discussed 5 years ago before he was even anywhere even thinking about it. He was still enjoying life and making some good breakfasts out there on 31. But this would be discussed years ago. And it's unfortunate that people automatically think there's an agenda. I think there is long-term. This may be teeing it up for people in the future to look at this property as they see, developers see the opportunity to come in. And that's where I stand today, that I'm going to protect our asset here in Lee County. I cannot support the motion because I think it's going to be driving a cost to Lee County taxpayers. I do not want to put that burden. I don't want to be, after October 1st, getting those emails, why did you cancel a Robert Circus, or we canceled this different event and show? I'm not going to support that. I think we continue to keep the events open and still the improvements. We can do that now with the current contract if it was extended without the cost of the county. So that's my concern with that. Look forward to having the town hall meetings and also the workshops in the future to hear from the public. But I think that we can still do that with the current position we are in now, without having the costs incurred back in the county and having that partnership. This dissolves that partnership in 6 months. And once that's dissolved, we, the county, is going to be facilitating on it. You know, we do great jobs at other facilities, but this is something different. It's going to be a different animal when you're having all these private sectors come in, because the Red Sox does RV shows and everything out there like that, and all the concerts. The Red Sox staff does all that, not the county employees. So the county employees are there for staff to open the doors to make sure things are taken care of, but at the end of the day, those other managers programs like that. So that's my concern, is the cost back to Lee County.
There you go.
Comment on?
Commissioner Ruane, yep.
So we could achieve exactly what you're articulating, Commissioner Pendergrass. We have the ability as policymakers to have a workshop and come up with a conclusion before September 30th.
Exactly.
So we don't have to be in the situation of spending taxpayer dollars. Let's give this the urgency this deserves. Let's have a workshop and come up with a conclusion before the contract expires. Period, the end.
One question I want to ask real quick to Mr. County Manager. Is there anything we can do to try and accommodate the Araba Circus?
Yes, Commissioner. We are looking at what we just explained earlier, is if we can get the electrical component taken care of. We're trying to figure out, I don't know exactly when their event is, but we will sit down and work with them.
Yeah.
May 12th?
12 is what he
I
said.
believe we can make that happen, yes.
Okay.
As long as there's
No, I
nothing
mean-
major on the electrical, then we should be good to go.
I don't know how the rest of you feel, but I mean, I'd like to accommodate that circus as much as we absolutely can. You know.
Okay.
Thanks.
Well, again, like a good chairman, the motion on the floor has the word possible. And I just know from being here before, this is all the events coming up over the next year after the contract. So you may want to look at that, but that's what all the events, when you have the event possible in those two sections, that's put there for a reason. So it covers staff, so when those things don't occur, it's back on the board for that. I understand that. So just so you guys know, when that happens, just be prepared for that.
Question for clarification. Would the motion maker have a problem if we said that we have to have the workshop by a particular date?
I simply do, Commissioner, simply because this is what this motion is for, to get us to the workshop so we can move forward. I just think we're prolonging the inevitable. So it just makes sense to move forward. If there's negotiation or whatever needs to be done for the fair board to continue to do the fair, then let's do it. Let's help them get there to do it. Let's help them. That's what we should be doing. So to assume that our county, or make reference to our county not having the ability to run the facility, is just uncalled for, in my opinion. It's because we have that ability, and we know we have that ability. So I'm trying to do a positive thing for Lee County, and I think we need to move forward and have a vote.
All right, at this time, I'll go ahead and call the question. Are there any objections to the motion on the floor?
Aye.
Okay, there's one objection. The motion carries 3-2. Commissioners Pendergrass and Sandelli object. All right, thank you very much. Mr. Desjardins, go ahead and introduce item number 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item number 3 is asking you to approve a grant agreement for Hurricane Ian waterway debris removal.
Good morning, Commissioners. Roland Ottolini, Natural Resources. As Roger stated, this is approve a grant agreement with the USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service for implementing their emergency watershed program. It's for $18.7 million, which is a 75-25 cost share with Lee County, which would provide a 4.3 local match. As you're well aware, Hurricane Ian left a lot of debris in our waterways. We've identified over 55 miles of waterways, 21 miles of which are in San Carlos Park, that need to be addressed. I think this is the high end because DOT's been working diligently in clearing canals in their own county-maintained system. So we want to proceed with this. As you're well aware, early on, we had requested FEMA to address this and seek for reimbursement. They directed us to go to NRCS because they would not reimburse it until we went through that process. They got out in the field, did field assessments, environmental assessments, and they have finally approved funding for this project.
Okay, very good. Do you have any questions, Commissioners, at this time on this item? No? Okay. At this time, has anyone come to speak in public comment on item number 3? No? Okay. We'll close public comment. Commissioners, does somebody wish to make a motion?
Move the item.
Motion for approval from Commissioner Pendergrass. Second from Commissioner Sandelli. Do we have any discussion on this item? Any objection? No objection. That motion carries unanimously. All right, item number 4, Mr. Desjardins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioners, we're asking you to approve the third ratification of emergency expenditures executed under Emergency Resolution 22-09-31. Mr. Winton, please present the item.
Thank you. Commissioners, this is for emergency purchase orders that were issued for Hurricane Ian immediately following the storm. And this it's a much smaller number than what you've seen before. These were primarily for emergency repairs to utilities lift stations and infrastructure, and also for the purchase of emergency radios for the search and rescue teams that were deployed to Lee County.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions on this item at all? No? Do we have anybody who's come to speak in public comment on item number 4? Okay, I see no public comment. Commissioners, does somebody wish to make a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion for approval from Commissioner Greenwell, second from Commissioner Sandelli. Do we have any discussion on this item? Okay, are there any objections to the motion? No objections, that motion carries unanimously. All right, that completes the administrative agenda. There were no walk-ons and carryovers noted on the recap, so we'll move to Commissioner items. Commissioner Ruane, do you have any items today?
I do, sir. Thank you. First item is obviously an update on the Recovery Task Force. Obviously, interest continues with Resiliently. It grows. I'm pleased to announce additional names to the task force, and as I've done in the past, there's a list I'm going to give to you, Mr. Chairman, for the record, of just additions to the task force, and the branches mostly, I should say. Sorry, the branches. I wanted everyone to understand the next task force is on the 28th, but probably one of the most important things that we're going to go through, and it's really a requirement, to continue to have the public engaged in a process of town hall meetings. There's going to be launching over 16 town hall meetings throughout the county. I want to, not only share with all my board members the actual contract, or the calendar, I should say, of the town hall meetings, and I also want everyone and anyone to participate if they want to. It's really a requirement. So under CBDGR money, we are required to make sure we have engagement from the community. To do that, we've actually gone through the entire county and set up 16 designated locations, and we'll continue to start those. One starts as early as tomorrow. It'll start off in Commissioner Pendergrass's area in San Carlos and Southeast Lee at the San Carlos Park Elementary School. But I just wanted everyone to be aware of the type of public engagement we're going to go through, and we're going to have to do other things to satisfy the requirements within the grant to make sure we meet and adhere to all the steps associated with that. All the municipalities will actually have a kickoff as well within their city. I just wanted everyone to understand the different steps we're taking and moving forward as far as that is concerned. The other question or issue that continues to come up is, we all are aware that session's winding down rather quickly. We are certainly still in a very good position. I talked to Chris Cheney yesterday with the items that we have in the Senate budget, and certainly believe that during the reconciliation process, the items that we've put in the budget, from the bridges to beach renourishment to stoplights to street signs to traffic lights, are all in there. So we're in a very good shape, both the speaker as well as the approach chair I've checked in with to make sure they're still in agreement that Lee County needs all these things. They're 100% in favor of that. The issue that I've worked very closely with staff, and I commend Roger working really closely with me and developing a timeline. What I'm trying to do is come up with a timeline on what the next 8 months look like, so we have a pretty good indication of that. We have an awful lot of opportunities in front of us. I want to make sure we maximize those. And at some point in time, maybe we could have a little bit more of a detailed workshop. It's really what I want to try to talk about with the different funding sources that are available to us, the different opportunities in front of us. I think it's helpful, as there was a simple PowerPoint presentation on what is a community development block grant, and it goes on for like 40 pages. As we look into every silo of funding, I think it's appropriate for us to have said workshop to talk about whether it's coming from U.S. Department of Agriculture, whether it's coming from Commerce or Interiors or this, the House, or this HUD grant or other opportunities that are available to us. As we continue to understand, our engagement, is going to continue to expand as we understand the opportunities in front of us, and we're all going to have to continue to work through this process. We have a lot of work to do. We've done an awful lot, so I just really am looking forward to having a more robust conversation about those opportunities, those potential funding sources, and making sure everyone's up to speed on the opportunities that might be available to Lee County for funding and procurement. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Commissioner Sandelli, any items today? No. Okay. Commissioner, I'll do mine last. Commissioner Pendergrass, you have an item?
Yes, sir, I do. Thank you. Thank you. So I'll take a deep breath. Almost ready to take a break, but that's over with earlier, so we got to move on now. So we all been talking about the last year on, and Commissioner Greenwald, we were just started talking about this actually when you first got here. Actually, there's problems we're having with Cape Coral and Fort Myers with the annexation, the land grabs throughout the county. So the city of Fort Myers last night voted to advertise the 44 acres on Daniels and Tree Line to move forward after the planning board denied the zoning request. So my question to this board is to, they have moved that forward to the May 15th council meeting. Last night, Councilman Lynn Boucher was here earlier. I think he left during the civic discussion, so I think Councilman Lynn Boucher and Councilwoman Darla Bunk and one other vote that last night that voted against the advertising of that property. Councilwoman Bunk had some great information about that, where their planning board should be the one setting changes the comp plan, not the developers on that side. So my request from this board is for us to send a letter, is to have a motion to send a letter on behalf of the Lee County Board of County Commissioners to the City of Fort Myers Council objecting to Fort Myers adoption of CPA 22-0055 Daniels Parkway tree line for failure to ensure adequate municipality infrastructure in place to serve the project. Encroachment of inconsistent and capable residential uses adjacent to the county intensive industrial commercial land uses. The negative impacts and proposed development will have on the county's transportation network, period. I've been in constant communication with our county attorney on this issue. This last week I was approached by the city representatives where they're building a new project at Ortez and MLK, which is totally separate from this. It's already an annexed property where the city of Fort Myers does not have water for that facility. Their ask was for the county to provide drinking water and utilities for that property so they could sell the property to be developed. I think our staff told them no. They're still under the consent order from DP. This request the city is looking at doing next month is continue to, is just totally put some more strain on their system. They cannot provide utilities for that. Chief Rogers here today. Gene's here. I don't know if he wanted here for this item, if you're here for something else. The South Trail Fire is also taking legal action against the city of Fort Myers for their annexation, which was done improperly outside the statute, where they took millage from the South Trail Fire. So all this is coming to a head, and I think we should send a clear message to the city that, we're going to stand here and we're going to stand with our residents that do not have adequate drinking water and utilities, and not let you continue to restrain your regulatory process. They're a regulatory utilities company. They cannot continue to promise utilities for developers if they do not have that. So people are sitting right now with lots, pads on the ground, lots cleared, they do not have utilities to hook up to, and they're still continue to want to rezone these properties and take them out of the county, annex them to the city. Basically, it's a land encroachment, and it's a land grab, and we talked about that 6 months ago. As Roger pointed out, this is one of the greatest things we have to worry about the next few years as the cities continue to expand. So my motion is that. If I need to restate it, any discussion?
Could you restate it again? Just
Sure.
What exactly are you asking us?
Motion to send a letter on behalf of the Lee County Board of County Commissioners to Lee County, to the Fort Myers City Council, objecting to the Fort Myers adoption of CPA 22-0005, Daniels Parkway and tree line for failure to ensure adequate municipality infrastructure is in place to serve the project. Encroachment is inconsistent for the residential uses adjacent to the county intensive industrial and commercial land uses, and the negative impacts proposed development will have on the county's transportation network, because they do not have access to Daniels Parkway, and they want to put in 800 and something apartments there at the corner of the 44 acres, and they cannot get access to Daniels. So they cannot get access to the road, and they do not have water to provide that under the consent order under DEP.
Okay, so you got a motion from Commissioner Pendergrass.
I'll second that.
Second from Commissioner Ruane. Good deal. Any discussion or questions, commissioners? I have to open it up for public comment on that one. Is there any public comment on the motion made by Commissioner Pendergrass?
That's, I think, Councilman Limbachaux was here, was going to speak, but he must have to leave, but
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, all right, I see no public comment, then back to the board. Any further discussion on the motion that's on the floor? No? All right, are there any objections to the motion? Okay, I see no objections. That motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Greenwell, any items today?
You don't, Chairman.
The only item I had, Commissioners, was just to bring forward, I believe the Chief Hearing Examiner has communicated with all of you, and so she's brought this request through the chair to all of you for her transition plan. I believe everybody's been emailed it, and so just wanted to open the floor to give her, give us the opportunity to give her feedback, direction. Do we like it? Do we not like it? Do we want to direct staff to move forward with it? So the floor is open, Commissioners. Okay, I hear no objection to the Chief Hearing Examiner's plan. Does anybody need a copy of it? I brought copies if you'd like to see them. Okay, like I said, I believe she's met with all of us then, and we all understand it then. So, okay, at this time then, would we, Mr.
I would like to just throw this out there for consideration. One of my concerns is I love promoting within. I think that's very positive for the county staff to realize that we support that. My one concern is that as she would retire and the new chief examiner would take over, the person that she would be looking for now would be below that person, which then, I guess it's sort of like being the manager and the bench coach, the organization decides to keep the bench coach, and I take over and I've got someone that kind of can undermine me a little bit. I think in business, it's always important to allow the person that is in charge to pick their second. So that's one of my concerns under that situation, would be a person that is retiring is putting the person, in second. And I would have concern about that, simply because that could cause some conflict there. I would rather see the person that does it be the person that would be number one at that point. So I just want to point that out to move forward, something to think about.
Okay. Would you like, the Chief Hearing Examiner's here, would you like her to address any of that?
I would. I'd love for you to speak about it. I'm sure they work together, so it'd be a great opportunity.
Good morning, Commissioners. Donna Marie Collins. I'm your Chief Hearing Examiner. And to your point, Amanda and I would interview this person together. I will have input, but my idea is that she would be the one that would choose this person that would serve as her second. Like I say, I would have input, but I'm on the same page as you. on this issue, and I feel as though her preferences should be paramount in terms of hiring this next person.
And is that something we're going to vote on today, that we would be approving for them to do that? Is that where we're at with that?
Well, that was going to be my question to the county attorney, as our parliamentarian and county attorney. Do you need a motion to codify or confirm this, or is simply the consensus direction enough, or?
Mr. Chairman, as you're aware, the board has 4 employees under the charter in your organization. That's the county manager, the county attorney, the chief hearing examiner, and the port director. You are the employer of we 4. Therefore, if you're so inclined to provide direction to your employee, as a board, you should do so as a motion. So perhaps something along the lines of you would move to approve the reorganization as submitted, with the exception of the hiring of the replacement hearing examiner.
Okay. Commissioner Pendergrass?
And I apologize for not being more clear about the fact that Amanda would be in on this hiring of the next person.
But that's my question to the county attorney. It should be a contract employee once the retirement of Donna Marie Collins should be under contract, and that's the board would have to come back and ratify that contract, correct?
Yes,
Okay, at a later date, though.
absolutely.
If the board chose to enter a contract with her as our 4th employee. Or would it already be qualified from this here lead
The
in?
new chief hearing examiner,
Right.
yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, good deal. So the county attorney said he would prefer a motion on this. Does somebody wish to make that motion?
I'll move the item.
Okay, motion for approval from Commissioner Pendergrass, and then the second is from Commissioner Ruane. Do we have any discussion further on that item? No? Does anybody wish to speak in public comment then on the item as presented? So it's basically the transition plan for the chief hearing examiner, as she shared with each of us, which would basically just be to initiate a remodel to convert the existing 2 hearing examiners' offices into 3, enter into a contract with Amanda Rivera to serve as. Now, so that's a good question, Commissioner Pendergrass. We're not entering into the contract today, though, right? Your motion doesn't contemplate that, right?
No.
No. So your motion just basically confirms that this is the path we're heading on, but it doesn't necessarily agree to contract.
Correct. That would be done at a later date. The contract would be written and negotiated with who the chair is at that time.
Okay. So then the seconder agrees that that's what we're agreeing to too then. Okay. And then authorize the budget adjustments necessary for that remodel.
So I had one question. Donna Marie, you were hiring a 3rd person now to train. What's the total cost that's going to be doing that retraining before your retirement? Because I don't remember the retirement date if it's on there.
Well, I was thinking of bringing someone in by the end of the year,
Okay.
by December, so hopefully starting December, January, and then paying them somewhere between $180 and $200, depending on their experience, because it's a very specialized position. There's a very finite group of people that would really qualify to serve for this job, and likely we'll be taking them from private practice, potentially, and we want to be able to compensate them based on their experience.
So that cost would be for a year for that 3rd person? Because once you retire, would there be a 3rd person? Would the next hearing examiner be filling that
No.
position then, or to still be
It would
just
be
two?
like an overhire for a period of 9 months.
That was my question. So it's the 9 months of payroll. Okay.
All right, Commissioner Sandelli?
Man, obviously, Don Marie, you talked about your succession plan. Specialized, she's been working there for a while. It's 9 months. Does that need 9 months to do that transition? I'm thinking in terms of the overlap of financing, you know. My question is this, you're proposing here a 9-month transition. Is that correct?
Well, really, it's a 16-month transition, because what would happen immediately is facilities would come in and they would
Take the facility piece out as far as that piece. I'm talking about,
Yes.
I think you said here it's going to take a period, what's the period of time to train Amanda up to your role?
Yes,
What is that,
9 months.
9 months? Okay.
All right, any other questions then or discussion on the item then? Okay. All right, well then we have the motion and the second on the floor. Anybody object to it?
Public comment?
Oh, did we ask for that? No? All right, we'll ask for public comment. Is there anybody who wishes to speak in public comment again? I didn't see any hands when I asked for it earlier, but, yeah, no. Okay, all right, any objection? No objection, that motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Donna Marie. Okay, very good. So at this time, we'll move to committee appointments. Commissioner Ruane, any committee appointments? Commissioner Sandelli?
No.
I have none. Commissioner Pendergrass?
Yes, I have one new one, Vicki Little for Parks and Recreational Services.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion from Commissioner Pendergrass, second from Commissioner Ruane. Any discussion? No discussion. Are there any objections? No objections. Motion carries unanimously. And Commissioner Greenwell?
I have 5. Patricia Guys for Waterway Shores Street Lighting Unit Committee. Gerald Kamerer, hope I pronounced that right. If I didn't, I apologize, for Waterway Shores Street Lighting Unit Committee. Also, new appointment, Robert Johnson for Waterway Shores Street Lighting Unit Committee. Also, new appointment, James Shea Cecil, hope I pronounced that right, for the Waterway Shores Lighting Unit Committee. And also Charles Willoughby for the Waterway Shores Lighting Unit Committee.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion from Commissioner Greenwell, second from Commissioner Ruane. Do we have any discussion? Do we have any objections? No objections, motion carries unanimously. All right, at this time, we'll move to county manager items. Mr. Desjardins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have just one item today, and we're asking you to approve a letter of support for the Broadband Digital Equity Project. Ms. Brady, will you please describe our needs?
Commissioners, this letter is for support, as Mr. Desjardins said, for Lumen and Comcast. Our local technology planning team has been working with the state's Office of Broadband and our local carriers to identify projects that will provide internet service to unserved and underserved areas. You will recall we did something similar for the Broadband Opportunity Program grant funding, and each of those carriers were awarded money through their grant program. This is very similar. It's another round of funding through the Capital Projects Fund, or CPF grant fund. So we're asking for permission or consensus from this board to allow the chairman to execute those letters of support for the carriers.
Very good. So does somebody wish to make a motion?
I'll move the item.
Okay, motion for Commissioner Ruane, second from Commissioner Greenwell. Do we have any discussion on that? Does anybody wish to speak in public comment about those letters of support for the broadband program? Okay, seeing none then, is there any further discussion? Are there any objections? No objections, that motion carries unanimously. All right. Mr. Desjardins, is that all?
Thank you,
for
Mr.
county
Chair.
manager
That's all
items?
today.
Perfect. All right, county attorney items.
Nothing further, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right. At this time, we'll move to public presentation of matters by citizens. I have a card from Mr. Bills. Are you still here? Yes.
How you doing? My name's Alan Bills. Thank you very much for your time. I just wanted to thank all of you for all your support over this House Bill 735 that has been threatening my livelihood. You've done a really good job for me, and I appreciate all the help. Our county attorney, everybody's been very supportive. I just wanted to be here to thank you. And I'll be here at the next meeting, hopefully for a little better news. But we're moving forward, and I still want to go after, have a talk with the state, let's say, because I think the whole bill is a very bad thing for the community as a whole. Taking away licenses is going to be a bad thing, and it's going to set up a lot of people for some bad situations. A lot of just unskilled workers as a whole are going to be out there doing work that shouldn't be. I'd like to get a stop to this before June 30th, before this takes place. So that's all. I just wanted to thank you for your time, and thank you again for your support.
Thanks, Mr. Bills.
You're welcome.
Any further speakers under public presentation of matters by citizens? Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comment. Workshop update, Mr. DeJarle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At 1:30 today, we would like to give you an update, annual update on road construction tier ranking system and then ultimately receive some direction that we can bring back to the board for codification.
Okay. Are there any speakers on the road construction workshop? Okay, seeing none, then we'll close public comment. I see no further business before us, so we're adjourned. Thanks.